starting now, you can. Thank you. All right, Sarah, do you want to bring up the slides?
Sure, I'm going to have to share my screen. All right, hold on a second. I'm going to put this in presentation mode. Good morning, everyone, and thank you for inviting me to join you with Kirsten. This is an exciting project. Okay, can you see the slides?
Yep.
Excellent.
Okay, so we don't have a lot of time, so we're going to talk a little bit about this project, and then of course, you know where to reach me, and we're putting a contact email at the end of this presentation if you have more questions about the project. So just to clarify once again, this is not a project that that is being sponsored or run by the Department of Public Health Services. This is a collaborative project of multiple partners, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Several of which are here or part of our task force team, and you know them well. And this is a project that is generously sponsored by the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation, who is also here with us in the task force. So this project really is a storytelling, story capture and story mapping project that we've really thought about and been wanting to do for, probably well over a year. We were very lucky to be able to pull together a team of partners to receive the funding that we needed to support the project to move it forward. So this project is called Our Story, Reflections from the Pandemic and Beyond. It is a New Hampshire-based storytelling project. It is intended to capture people's experience during the pandemic and into this sort of new era, which I refer to as the COVID era, of the sort of during and semi-post pandemic, and then map those stories across New Hampshire so we can see and experience what our own neighbors and communities were experiencing at the same time. Ultimately, we'll maintain this as a capture of sort of a moment in time of what was happening in New Hampshire as a historical record. So we'll talk a little bit about the project.
Okay, so I'm going to move on to the next slide, okay?
Sure.
There we go. So this is our mission statement for the project. And like Kirsten said, so my name is Sarah, for those of you that I haven't met, and I do have a background in public health. I used to work at the Division of Public Health, and Kirsten and I began our storytelling journey together there, I would say, with a couple of different interesting projects. So we're bringing those skills to this project along with our partners, as Kirsten mentioned. So this is our mission statement. And actually, I just need to move. There we go, so I can see. Our mission is to facilitate a safe, equitable, and honest process for the creation, collection, and dissemination of first-person stories created by individuals across New Hampshire. That is stated on our website. So since we don't have a lot of time, I'm going to move to the next slide here. So this, I'm going to show you, it's less than 30 seconds, a quick animation that we created that is on our website and will be on our social media as well about the project. This is our English version, and then I will show you the Spanish version. You should be able to hear. If you can't, let me know.
Stories matter. Stories connect us, center us, and provide a record of the times in which we lived. We invite you to tell your story by clicking the Share Your Story button or checking the calendar for events throughout New Hampshire. Become an important piece of the tapestry of our story, reflections from the pandemic and beyond.
Okay, so I'm going gonna advance to the next slide.
Stories matter. Stories connect us, center.
Sorry about that. Okay.
Las historias importan. Las historias nos conectan, nos centran y nos proveen un récord de los tiempos en que vivimos. Los invitamos a contar sus historias haciendo clic en el botón de comparta su historia o share your story, o revisando el calendario para eventos que se llevarán a cabo por todo New Hampshire. Sea una parte importante del tapiz de nuestra historia, reflejos de la pandemia y más allá.
So if you don't recognize the voice, that is our own.
Las historias importan.
That is our own Trini. Trini is a member of our lead team, along with Dottie Morris from Keene State College, Melanie Plenda from the New Hampshire Media Collaborative, and Paula Smith from the Southern New Hampshire AHEC, as well as Keisha Sheedy, who is going to coordinate and run our community council as well, which we will talk about. So just briefly, we talk about this project as being really grounded in principles of ethical storytelling, which is something that's really important to us and really important to this project. So we don't have a lot of time. I won't go deeply into them, although we welcome you to come to any other presentation we're running where we go a little more deeply into what these principles are. But just briefly, we start by saying that the primary objective of any project like this that's based in ethical storytelling is to prioritize the storyteller and the storyteller's well-being, to make sure that they have a safe and comfortable experience, that it's their choice to tell or not tell their story. It's their choice to share or not share their story. It's their choice to maintain their story if they do share it publicly, or retract it if they choose to. And so everything that we do when we build our workshops, storytelling facilitated workshops, is really intended to prioritize the storyteller's well-being. We recognize, and this is just a principle of equity and ethics in general, that we respect and value people's time, commitment, and their deep well of knowledge. And so when we, and this relates to our third bullet as well, practicing cultural humility, we understand that it's really important for these types of projects to be community-led and community-driven. And so we have built into this the establishment of this community council. We have had a call out for participation in that community council for a while. It's still open. If people would like to join, they may. And in that council is really intended to inform our ability to reach diverse communities across New Hampshire and to build the project so it's really supporting those communities, not consuming their stories, not using their stories, but supporting their ability to share their story if they choose to. And in return, we of course do provide a stipend for participation in that community council, as well as supporting people's time and needs when they come and participate in a storytelling workshop. One of the key principles of ethical storytelling is that we all have a story and we tell our own story, that we are at the center of the story and we are not telling stories about other people. We can tell stories about other experiences that involve other people, but we help people when we facilitate with them to really center themselves in their own story. And this is one of the ways that the storytelling is very different than messaging or public relations work. It's really not crafted. It's not manipulated. It's not a message that we're creating, and it's not about something else. It's about the storyteller, and the storyteller really provides the direction of the story. We just help them facilitate getting it out. And to that end, we recognize that stories belong to the storyteller, only the storyteller, always and forever. They can choose to tell their story or not. They can choose to share their story or not. They can choose to share their story by giving consent, very detailed consent of where it can be shared and how. And if they retract that consent at any time, we will do everything possible to pull the story back from wherever it has been shared. And again, just sort of, I already touched on this a little bit, but the story facilitation that we do in these types of projects is supportive. It's not directive. This is not a messaging project. This is not, we want to gather good stories about people's experiences during COVID-19, or we don't want to, we want to really gather all these stories that have a message. That there's a time and there's a place for that, and that's a valuable way to do some messaging work. But that is not what this is. This is an opportunity for people who often don't get a platform to have a quiet moment to share their own story. This is a platform for them to do that. And so those are the key principles of ethical storytelling. Again, very basic overview of them today, but in other workshops, we go into much greater detail.
Okay, thank you, Kirsten. So we would like to bring you all in a little bit into the process and do a little writing prompt, and try writing your own narrative. I think we're about 12 minutes or so into our presentation, so we're going to take about 8 minutes. I'll go until 9:35 is when we'll stop. But we would like you to either write, draw, take a photograph, record your voice answering one or more of the following questions that are on the screen. What have you learned about yourself in the past 19 months? What new hobbies, skills, or insights have you gained? And what would you like the world to know about this time in New Hampshire? Those are the 3 questions that we have. Kirsten, do you want to say anything before we?
Sure. Yeah, sure. I just want to say that, we wanted you to have some time and a moment to just experience what it's like to sit back and reflect on your own experience. But again, we recognize that not everybody wants to participate in something like that. You certainly will not be forced to share it in any way, although we will give the opportunity, and we hope some people might. But if you're not interested in participating, I welcome you to take that time and just sit quietly and enjoy a few minutes of break from the rest of the world. And we will come back together we'll give you a 1-minute heads up, and we can go ahead and stop the recording at this point, because we would not record anyone sharing